back to our old ways. Honorable Ba, what do you say?
Thank you very much. Good morning to your viewers. I was just watching the clip that you were playing, and my first reaction was that it appears it depends on where you stand. Your reaction is different. I can understand when you belong to a group, irrespective of what the group does. You are compelled to still make the group look a bit good in your view, and so you may react in a particular way. And I say this, for example, you talk to my colleagues who are MPP. I know privately in their hearts, the introduction, for example, of the e-levy is something that is going to hit them. But by virtue of the fact that the corporate body MPP has to still look good for electoral fortunes, they are forced to speak about it. But there are a number of surveys that have been done, irrespective of the fact that it may not be that scientific, whether it is radio stations and other things, that seem to create the impression that between 80 to 90% of people are really against the whole idea of the e-levy. That is why, for example, yesterday you saw what happened with Bernard Mona and his group walking to Parliament. I still think the government has to take a second look at the introduction of the e-levy for very simple reasons. Our fundamental understanding of taxes is that you tax incomes. So I work for, say, a month, and I'm earning my money in terms of salary or wages. Then you can tax it for developmental purposes. Or I run a business, and in the course of the business, I make profit. In fact, that is why GRA will not tax you if you make losses. They wouldn't. And so, if I make profit, then you tax that for developmental purposes. But a situation where the money I need, and I give you a typical example. Let's say I earn 5,000 Ghana cedis a month. That's after taxes. So you have taxed me already, and then I have gotten that. Then I have my money, but I choose to keep my money in my mobile money wallet. I don't have it cash, but I keep it in my mobile money wallet. Then Bella, I'm talking with you and I say, oh, can you just pick these 200 Ghana cedis and do this for me? The fact that I decide to give you the money digitally, I am taxed again on it. Or, for example, I go to a restaurant with you. They give us a bill about 200 Ghana cedis. You choose to pay tax after you have paid your VAT and everything. You choose to pay by cash, and I choose to pay digitally. I am penalized for choosing the option of paying by paying 1.75% on it. I don't know whether the picture I'm painting you understand.
I get you,
So you realize that it falls within the argument made by Issa that talks about the fact that this tax is punitive. It is regressive. Because if you look at it generally, it is because of the nature of it that it has almost failed in any country that it has been introduced.
But we have the Tema West MP who says that if it's going to be a problem for you, then do not send Momo. And I just want us to play that video shortly before you carry on. And so Honorable Carlos Ahenkorah was speaking to Communal Klucha, parliamentary correspondent, yesterday in Parliament, and this is what he had to say.
Human being, I would say, or no person likes to pay tax. In fact, it is a known fact that taxes are generally abhorred by people who are supposed to pay them. So what is happening is quite understandable. But to the extent that it's been used to gain some political points, or it's been done for political expediency, for me, it's very unfortunate.
Concerning some of the charges, and if it's one of the means, or if it's one of the means to which the money would be charged on, then maybe the option to Ghanaians would be to stop the using. Would you advise them to stop using?
I'll tell you something. I've always been saying that the Momo tax is not a compulsory tax. You only pay when you use it. If you don't use it, you don't pay. So for me, there is no way any other procedure for making payments is going to equal momo. Right now, what we are saying is the tax is targeted at those who have the ability to pay, not those who are receiving. If you are receiving, it's okay to go and negotiate with a person who has gone to the bank to borrow money and be a momo agent to pay money out. Otherwise, keep the money on your phone and you don't pay nobody any money. And it is money targeted at those who want to use the service. Even if I stand here and tell people that, look, if you like, don't pay, or if you like, don't use momo, I tell you, using momo will be far cheaper. If you think using the momo service is difficult or expensive, you try taking your money out there and even see whether you lose the money on the way.
All right, and that is Carlos Ahenkorah. He is the MP for Tema West constituency and also the former Deputy Trade Minister. And he says that, well, if you can choose whether to use Momo or not, and so if it's going to be a problem for you, keep the money in your wallet and don't send any Momo. We've been joined by Kamal Dean. He's the Deputy Director of Communications for the MPP. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Hope you're well, by the way.
I'm terrific.
I'll come to you shortly, but let's just let Honorable Bauer complete what he was saying. I mean, with regards to what Honorable Carlos Ahenkorah has also said, that, you know, you can choose other means of sending money.
I think that my colleague, I just want to be charitable towards him. I think his statement was very unfortunate, particularly when your own vice president is encouraging a cashless economy. If you were to travel outside the borders of Ghana, you realize that hardly will you see people holding cash. And sometimes, I remember one time, a friend of mine, whilst we were in school, had gone to do something. He was holding 50 pounds. So whilst we were in, excuse me, and I'm not by this trying to go after Nigerians. A white lady who was behind just tapped and asked, "Are you a Nigerian?" They asked why. He said, "Because you're holding so much cash, and it's 50 what do you call it? Pounds. Yeah. It's very rare. Most often than not, people will use their cards. That is one of the reasons why it discourages even issues of armed robbers holding you and say, bring your money. Yeah. So if you have a situation where a certain member of parliament makes such a statement, it underscores the perception that people have about the fact that there's some level of arrogance that is creeping into leadership of government.
Is that really what it is?
It is. It is arrogance. It's a, maybe let's just put it, it's our own way ajaye. You know that sort of thing. That sort of arrogance. Because in the first place, why on earth would you, as an alternative to this, you are suggesting that there should be, what do you call it? You can take your money if you don't want if you don't want to use Momo, you pick up your money.
So use other means to send your money.
What is more criminal is the fact that government seems to gently deceive us as to what this money is going to be used for.
How? They've told us exactly what we're going to use it for. To build roads, it's for infrastructure, let me give you youth employment,
let me give you
cyber security.
Let me just give you, don't punish yourself. Let me just give you what they want to use this money for. I just want to give you.
And this is based on what, by the way?
Based on the budget. No, based on the budget. Just based on the budget.
Okay.
So one of the things the Minister of Finance talks about is the fact that, look, we are going to use it to build roads. Isn't that what he said?
Yes.
He said we are going to use it to create jobs, isn't it? The total amount of money we expect from this tax, as per the budget, is 6.9 billion.
Yeah, billion, yes.
Out of that, one of the key areas they are trying to look at is the U-Start, where they say they want to dedicate about $1 billion this year. It's supposed to be a 10 billion multi-year expenditure, but 1 billion this year for expenditure. If you look at the budget, the amount they are devoting for that in terms of taxes is 385,088,000.
Okay.
You understand? If you look at roads, that's capex roads, it's 1,044,289,000. That's the amount. Then even if you take your the issue of Agenda 111, if you see the amount they are just devoting for that from the taxes, it's just 518 million Ghana cedis. If you look at these three things, this cannot be the reason why.
But that's not all. They talked about cyber security as well.
Look, the cyber security that they are talking about, go back and look in the budget and look at how much they have devoted for. They have not given us an allocation for that. You must always move from the narrative to the actual allocations. Because the Minister of Finance can come, and then on the narrative is that you read very nice things. You say this thing is going to create jobs, it's going to create us 1 million jobs, it's going to create 11 million jobs in a 10-year span. They give you all these stories. Move from the narrative, because that is more of a PR stuff, and go to the allocations. Okay. When you go to the allocations, then they will say, activity A, we are going to spend X, because that is what goes into the appropriation. Okay. You see, whatever he says is of no consequence. What goes into the appropriation, what Parliament approves that you are going to expend over the fiscal year, that is very key. Okay. So if you want to know the intention of government, the intention is not in the narrative. The intention is in the what they call the allocations. Okay. And I'm just telling you that if you look at the activities they have said that this e-levy is targeted at being used, it tells you very clearly that the e-levy is not going to be used for those activities. What do you think that it will be used for then, if you're saying that it won't be used for that? Look, let me give you a typical example. Basically, as you speak today, even before we start using the e-levy, government has indicated to us that about 242 million Ghana cedis is going to be used for what they call e-levy services. That's the e-transaction services. What is that animal? So out of the money you are going to make, we have GRA that is well structured. We have GRA that can work closely with the telecoms to be able to assure in terms of collection of these monies. Then you go to create yet another entity, and you are going to expend, even before you collect the money, you are going to expend 242 million Ghana cedis in that. What is it meant for? Well, Kamal is here. He might explain to us exactly what it is meant for. But so you realize that sometimes you push them to the wall, and they tell you that, look, that you know, our flagship projects, we are going to free SHS, what have you. Bella, do you know, if you look at from 2017 and you include 2022 budget, you put them together, the total expenditure the government has spent on just is what do you call it, cost of flagship project, whether it's the free SHS, one district, one factory, whether one constituency, one this, one that, it's just 8.1% of the total expenditure. So where has the money gone to? So if you take all the monies they've taken from 2017 up to 2022 next year, if you put all together, they are spending just 8.1% of the amount of money they have spent. So where has the rest of the money gone to? Okay. I'll let Kamal come in so he can respond to that. Good morning, Kamal. I mean, first of all, I want you to respond to what Honorable Carlo Ahenkorah said. I mean, a lot of people have described it as distasteful and very shameful on the part of the MP, especially when a number of Ghanaians are complaining that we're already burdened with too many taxes, and so you cannot include e-levy. And he says that you can choose to send your money through other means and not Momo if it's not convenient for you.
Well, thank you very much, Bella, and good morning to you. Good morning to the Honorable Member of Parliament for Bongo, of course, and to the viewers out there. Bella, I think it's been a very tough and hard, times for all of us as a country. Why do I say so? Coming from where we all know, which has to do with the pandemic hits globally, which has to do with economies actually having to readjust because of some of these matters. We've gotten to a time where fiscal policy must be designed by law, which is the budget. Out of the budget came this proposal of e-levy, which has to do with raising revenue to assist us as a country to see how we can recushion ourselves and then get our economy back on track. The duty of government, with the greatest of respect, is to ensure that indeed your internal revenue mobilization and of course your external revenue mobilization is indeed good, so that the demands of the citizenry when it comes to projects, developmental projects, whatever, may be met or will be met. Now, the government of the day, by law, the president, through the finance minister, laid before parliament a fiscal policy, which properly so-called a budget is supposed to be debated on and approved by parliament. I'm not to rehash all that has been in parliament and all that, but to where we are, the question you asked me, whether what the honorable member of parliament for Tema West said was distasteful. Clearly, yes, opinions are like noses. We all have ours.
Okay.
He's contributing to a particular matter that is on the banner, which has to do with the e-levy, as to whether or not it's a laudable tax, it's not a laudable tax. I mean, and he had to say that indeed, if you have money sitting on your wallet without you embarking on remittance or sending to someone, you pay not a tax at all. Listen, again, if you are receiving remittance from someone to your wallet, you pay not a tax. But the point you want to make, sorry, you when you are receiving, you don't pay. When you are sending, you pay.
If it's a bank transaction and you get an inward remittance, they deduct that 1.75% from the recipient.
Bella, what I do know is that the recipient of every remittance that comes to your wallet, you being a recipient, that has been clearly explained. You are not in any way.
I'm going to pull up this. I'm going to pull up the budget so you see, because it said except those who are getting inward remittance from bank transactions, it will be deducted from them.
Assuming you are sending money to me, myself, Kamaldeen, who is receiving Momo from Bella, am I supposed to pay tax for receiving? No.
Yeah, but if you're receiving a bank transaction, it's an inward
matter. I mean,
no, but the 1.75 still affects them.
But I'm speaking to what the comments he made. The MP, you asked me to discuss, or you asked me to, if you like, give my opinion on what the MP said. And I'm trying to say that, look, this is the picture he painted. That if you have money sitting on your wallet, without you being sending, or without you sending the money out, then you don't pay any tax. Again, if you are receiving to your wallet, you are not paying any tax. I'm speaking with regard to what he said.
But he says that find another means of sending the money, or then leave the money on your wallet.
I've not even made my point yet, Bella. I was only trying to explain what he said.
Okay, I'm listening to you.
Now, the point I want to make is that, indeed, if you don't send money, you don't pay. And if you receive money on your wallet, you don't pay. But see, the point also remains that, indeed, you as an individual, I may choose to say that I am not going to send my Momo. I am going to maybe do my cash out and take my money out, as it were. As to whether that one will attract is also another,
it will
question
attract,
that we have to. For example, if it's my money and I'm taking it out of it, whether it's going to pay is what. But the point he's made is actually correct and right. The fact remains that indeed you don't pay money when you don't send out. So he says that it is your choice. It is your choice to say, I want to send money or I'm not going to send money. Of course, some people might find it quite a bit strong, a position.
How do you find it?
Yeah, why? The point I want to make is that all of us have needs at a point in time. My need could be that I want to send money to, say, for example, Mr. A or B, and that is a need or that's a desire I have. Now, if exactly, so if I am going to send the money, it's obvious that it's going to attract, if you like, the taxes that we're talking about. That is where some people will find his comments quite a bit a strong one.
He says find another means of sending your money. So what if, not to cut you, but we've listened to market women who are saying that we're resorting to the old system of sending money physically because we're not ready to pay that 1.75%. I mean, yes, but then are we not then backtracking and going back to the cash society, which we have fought so hard to move away from?
Now it forces us to juxtapose the stance of the market woman to what we have today as electronic transaction, which makes it easier and convenient for all of us. Except to add that there is a proposal for tax to be paid. Are you getting my point? Now, what we used to do traditionally, that somebody is going to Kumasi, let me give the money to him, 100 cedi, go and give it to my mother, or go and give it to my uncle, or whatever. The risk that comes with it, and even sometime today, when you go to the parcel office at the Laurel station to say that I have an envelope, I want to parcel this money to this person, there's a charge that you attract. Sometimes even far more than how much you are supposed to pay through the e-transaction. You get what I mean?
How much more? Do we have that?
Sometimes you send money and you pay close to, why? If somebody is supposed to be sent, let's say I'm going to send somebody to Bolgatanga to go meet my mother. From here to Bolgatanga is about 30 Ghana cedis. Okay? The person is supposed to come back with 130 Ghana cedis, 260 Ghana cedis. Maybe the person has to feed on the way. The person has some 300 Ghana cedis to go give her. And you have to pay only 400 Ghana to your mommy. Okay? That e-levy that you're supposed to pay, and you say, look, I am going to resort now to the old system. Obviously, the old system will be too expensive. But Bella, we shouldn't stretch this argument to this level. The point is whether or not taxes are imperative. Whether or not we should pay taxes as a people. And my brother Eddie will not say that, look, if we come to power, NDC comes to power, there's no way we're going to tax people. In fact, the last time I checked, he was the communication director of communication at the Minister of Energy prior to he becoming the
What has that got to do
with
with
I'm coming. I'm going to make a point on that. The last time, when he was there were taxes on petroleum, if you like, products imposed by their government.
You also imposed some new taxes last year.
I've not said we have not imposed taxes, but I'm telling you how imperative taxes are. The taxes that we have, the build-up of petroleum produce, the price that we have today, ask him, about 3 or 4 or 5 of the taxes were imposed by the NDC government up to date. We are not talking about that. So he cannot tell me that when they come, they would not impose taxes in any way, because that is very imperative. To raise revenue for government development is so important. So the point I want to make is that no government, and in fact no government, not even 10 John Dramani Mahames, will come to power and tell you tax-free regime, we are not going to pay taxes. Especially when you are hit with some of these problems like pandemic, global pandemic that has actually affected every economy. Yes, indeed, Carlos Ahenkorah made a comment, but to me, with a great respect, I think that certain times some words are a bit strong for us. Where we are today, we all need to, if you like, accept and agree to the plight of people out there. It's a fact.
Okay.
Anybody who says that the pandemic hit has not affected our economy, and therefore, or by that, we have had some hard times in this country, is lying.
But we seem to be blaming COVID for everything.
Look,
I mean, last year, you introduced the COVID levy. You introduced a number of taxes and reviewed some taxes as well. So already Ghanaians are saying they are burdened because we're paying a lot more. COVID-19 levy and the like. And so then if we're paying that, what's the update on that? What has those monies been used for? And why are you asking us to pay even more?
The last time
which is the concern that Ghanaians are asking.
Somebody was asking me, why is it that certain taxes are eased and certain taxes are not eased? We look at, of course, you saw indirect taxes, for instance, are a major source of revenue for government of Ghana, and not only government of Ghana, governments all over. Indirect taxes, I mean, not direct taxes.
Yeah.
When you take the direct taxes, for instance, ask yourself, how many of us are on the, if you like, tax net paying? We're talking about 84% of Ghanaians who are supposed to be taxable. But of course, out of that, less than 4% are paying taxes. Regularly, direct taxes, or less than 4% are paying taxes. Ask Mbawa here that when you sit on the Finance Committee of Parliament and tell Ghanaians that the 4% that we receive from Ghanaians is supposed to take care of development and the people of Ghana, up to 30 million people, will that be sufficient? No, it can never be.
And e-levy is the best way.
That is why we have to resort to. It's not just e-levy alone. We have other indirect taxes.
Of course.
But I'm saying that e-levy is also a tax system that will go a long way to help us. No wonder the minority leaders mentioned it. He said, look, we may not accept the 1.7%, but we will accept the 1% of e-levy. It tells you how imperative and important it is.
Okay.
Again, look, he did not tell you that it is bad. We should go zero on e-levy.
Well, minorities now saying no, but minorities now saying that they want a 0%
so the minority
charge
didn't
on
say
it.
that. So are you telling me minority leader?
Charge.
Are you telling me Haruna Idrisu didn't say that they will accept 1%?
No, but that was then, and I'll get him to respond to that. But now they are saying that they want a 0% charge.
Oh, they have reviewed their stance now.
Yeah,
they've moved from the 1% now. Then they want 0.
They said they never agreed to the 1%, but then because of the negotiations, they had to agree to a 1% at a point.
But he was emphatic.
Because your side did not also want to agree to a 0.5%, which is what they had mentioned. Because ISA had already mentioned that we think you should review it to 0.5%. And so if you're not going to agree to 0%, let's at least do 0.5%. Your side said, no, we cannot go any further than 1.5%, which is still too high.
Simple. Did the minority leader tell Ghanaians that we at the minority side or on the minority side propose and agree to or will agree to 1% or not?
Now they are saying 0%.
So fine. So the new trend in town is that it's 0%. We have actually even moved from the 1%. Is that correct? Okay, that's fine. But you see, I am still on my point that when you even interview the women, the two women I listened to, one said, look, government, whether we like it or not, needs to provide certain amenities to us. Development must go on. Our kids must be in school. Of course, we are calling for taxes to be taken away from petroleum products so the petroleum prices will come down. We are calling for, if you like, rules to be fixed. We are calling for hospitals to be assisted. We are calling for a lot to be done. Simple question. if we do not have a prudent way of raising revenue for the people, we do not profess a prudent way of raising revenue, how can we do this?
Okay.
You understand? The other woman says, no, let's resort to the traditional means where I will have to send my money through whatever and whatever, so the government shouldn't tax me, as it were, which I have already addressed and said, look, this is the risk that comes with it, even the cost that comes with it, as it were. So the point is that e-levy is an important intervention, but I will call for, cool heads.
Okay.
The minority, the majority, let us all, the finance minister spoke, said, look, let us all sit down, let's agree as to how to go with this. Then at the end of the day, citizens will be happy, they will be happy, we will also be happy.
Is your side willing to go below the 1.5%?
Oh, I think the finance minister indicated it. The finance minister indicated that in his press conference.
What did he say exactly, though?
He said, we are open for discussion.
But they had a discussion, and your side still insisted on 1.5.
He didn't take entrenched position. He said, look, we've made a proposal, we all look at it, let's see how we're going to see the implementation.
Okay. Let me bring Honorable Bawa in, because again, the issue about 1%, 0.5%, and now minority says that no, we're going back to 0%. We don't want e-levy at all. Is there some confusion?
Let me, I will answer that question.
Okay.
Seriously, I'll answer that question, but as part of my response to him, I will bring that up. Kamal Dean seems to create the impression that, look, taxes are imperative, and therefore there's the need to constantly tax, or else you can't develop. Meanwhile, you recall that their government, led by their vice president, had stated on one of your sister stations that as a country they were moving from taxation to production. So everybody would have expected that this government would have been very cautious in the introduction of taxes. Bella, since 2017, this current government, led by Nanado and then Baumeya, have introduced 18 new taxes. 18 new taxes.
Since what, 2016?
2017. Since when they came to
government. Since 2017, yeah.
You know that they had increased VAT by 5%. They had increased, they had introduced the luxury car tax, which they finally removed.
They removed it, yeah.
3% VAT flat rate, cover tax, sanitation tax, 5% national fiscal stabilization levy. You remember that there was a sunset clause when it was introduced. It was supposed to be in December 2017, and they reintroduced it. To reintroduce it, you need to introduce it by law. So they introduced that. 2% component of the special import levy, which was also extended after the 2017 sunset clause. They increased ESLA by 30% and extended it for 15 years. Recall that ESLA was supposed to be for 5 years. So they increased it. You had increase in communication tax by 50%. They increased the VAT flat rate, I have indicated, from 3% to 4%. Financial sector levy of 5% on all banks. Price stabilization and recovery levy on fuel increased by 40%. That's a UPPF, that's a Unified Petroleum Price Fund. They increased by 164%. Boss margin was increased by 200%. You had the fuel market margin was increased by 233%. You had, of course, between now, what they are doing, that they are trying to reverse the benchmark revenues. So it means that about 32 items are going to increase by 30%. So you have the electronic levy that they are now bringing in. And of course, you have the 15% proposal that they are talking about fees and charges. And that alone has about 20,000 different fees and charges, from school fees to mortuary fees, which is about, 15% increment. And this is even, in fact, they are trying to bend the law to say that, look, they will be adjusting this any other year in accordance with inflation, which is even an affront to the law. You have all these taxes that they have increased. So you have a government who indicates that, look, I didn't intend, increasing tax. I'm going to concentrate more on production. 2, he created the impression that, look, because I was working at the Ministry of Energy and there was increases in the introduction of taxes. Lots of them. He failed to tell us what was the introduction of the tax. And now I'll explain to you. And no, I'm going to explain that to you. He failed to me, and I'm going to explain. First and foremost, he indicates, because the tax that was increased was the SPT, the Special Petroleum Tax. The Special Petroleum Tax was increased in 2014, at the 2015 budget. That was in November 2014. This was at a time when, if you look at our budget in the 2015, we had indicated that were projecting to be producing about 100,000 barrels of crude a day. Remember where you get at Jubilee? Where our benchmark revenue, we had pegged it at $54 per barrel. These were the two things. And so that was how our projection for petroleum revenues was supposed to come. Then suddenly, there was crisis in terms of the international market. We had gold prices go down. We had metals go down. We had crude oil move from around $80-something dollars per barrel to $25 per barrel. So that was in terms of the price level. Then you also had a situation where in terms of our production had also come down under 100,000. And the reason was because our Kwame Nkrumah, FPSO Kwame Nkrumah, in terms of the production, because of the challenge we had with the torrent bearing, the productions came down. So you have lower productions, low prices in the international market conspiring to give us, in terms of our petroleum revenues, came down. So government then decided that, look, to be able to make up for this, let's go to the downstream and introduce what we call the special petroleum tax to plug the petrol revenue, the shortfall that we're going to get. However, we knew that by 2017 December, the prices would have come up again, would have solved the SPSO problem. And these two factors will help us to come up. So this tax would have gone off. Fast forward, and the NPP criticized this for God knows how long. Fast forward, in 2017 December, luckily enough I was in Parliament. All we expected was the government was coming to take it up, because now petroleum prices were picking up. Indeed, we're no longer producing from only one front. We're producing from two fields. Indeed, today we are producing from three fields. So you do not have a justification today that now you produce from three fields. That's a Ahenkorah, you have 10, and then you have Jubilee. You are having crude prices move between $85 to $90 per barrel. These two things are giving you high petroleum revenues. Then you still keep the SPT, that is special petroleum tax, at at a flat rate of 46 pesos per liter. You can't be telling us that this is the basis under which the NDC introduced that, because this was supposed to have exited in 2017 December. Second, they introduced what they call the sanitation and then
sanitation levy.
What is the other one? Pollution levy. What they call the Bola tax. Bella, you know that every town in Ghana, every village, every hamlet in Ghana falls under either a district, a municipal, or a metropolitan assembly. Anytime the DACF, that's the District Assembly's Common Fund, is being transferred to any district, any municipal, or any metropolitan assembly, for sanitation and fumigation, they deduct a total of 120,000 Ghana cedis for that. I don't know what I'm making sense.
Okay.
100, because they deduct for fumigation, they deduct 80,000, and for what they call sanitation improvement program, they deduct 40,000 Ghana cedis. So my assembly in Bongo pays, for every quarter, we pay 120,000 Ghana cedis to keep Bongo clean.
Okay.
You understand my point?
That's separate from the sanitation pollution.
Yes. Then you come again. So because I'm from Bongo, my money, 120,000 has been taken. When I'm going to buy fuel, then you charge me again 10 pesos per liter for the same activity. I don't know what I'm making sense. For the same activity, because it is for sanitation and pollution. For the same activity. So Ghanaians are paying twice for the same service. So you can do with others. Is
it because the money is inadequate, which is why they're adding a lot more so that they can address the sanitation problem? We all know how difficult it has been addressing this particular problem.
Look, government has not, as we speak today, accounted for how even the 120,000 Ghana cedis per what they call it per assembly is been done. Government has not accounted for that. Government, as we speak today, when they were even coming for the sanitation and pollution levy, we indicated very clearly to them that they, just like the ESLA, that when you collect them, we expect that every year you give us a report of the collections and tell us how it was expended. They fought against that. Because if you really want to use it for what it is meant for, then you should be able to deal with that.
Okay.
So I am creating the impression here for you to understand that you have a government that seems to create the impression that taxation was criminal. Taxation, we could do with that taxation. We could do and then do more of production. And for them, the production, that is where they would have gone in to be able to make the economy get money and other things. But today, production, we do not even know exactly what you are doing. And that's why I told you that if you look at all their capital expenditure, particularly their flagship projects, the total they have spent, if you add 2022, it's just about 42 billion. Meanwhile, the amount of money they are spending, if you add 2022, is about 530 billion. 500 out of 530 billion, we just have about 42 billion that is being spent on free SHS, that is being spent on one district, one factory, that is being spent on one village, one dam, that is being spent on one constituency, one day, ambulances, all their flagship projects. It's just 8.1%. So when you tell me that, and I'm making this point because of the fact that these monies that we are picking, if we're using them for investments, for capital projects, that we can point that today, if I'm sick, I know that there's a hospital that has been put in my village, and that on the basis of this, I will be able to survive. Then
if you're privy to all this information, why were you? I'll come to you, Kamal. Back to my question. Why was the minority willing to agree to a 0.5% on the e-levy and even 1%?
Now listen.
Because clearly you're saying there's a lot more money that we're spending, and it won't go into any of these projects that e-levy will address.
As I speak to you now.
That's a very good question.
As I speak to you now, if I make a personal pronouncement here that I am ready to tolerate 0.5%, 1%, 1.5% as an individual, I'm saying that, look, I think that if it is 0.1% to 2% or maybe to 1%, I'll be able to negotiate with you. I'll listen to your conversation. That is a personal decision. When you have a caucus has a position. And indeed, you will recall that even though the leader had gone to indicate that for him, around 1%, he's ready to tolerate and have a conversation around it. That was as an individual. That's why he used I.
So it was his personal and not that of minority, because we were made aware that there was a meeting between minority and majority, and even I'm not sure the speaker, the deputy speaker was there when he was serving in the capacity as speaker. Finance minister was there, and they said that we pushed for a 0.5% in accordance to ESE's request. They said they won't agree, so we even moved to 1%. They still said we will not agree. How do you say that this is a personal position by the minority leader?
There are two official statements that have come from the minority caucus. Two official statements. Last 2 weeks Sunday, we issued one stating the 5 conditions under which this budget will be approved.
Yes.
No e-levy, reversal of the benchmark revenues, the restructuring of the ACE deal, withdrawal of JAPA, and the allocation for the tidal waste. We had stated these things. Again, a day after the supposed video clip came out about the leader speaking at the Chamber of Telecommunications, a formal statement was issued that reiterated our position. Thirdly, when the finance minister wrote to Mr. Speaker indicating his concessions and the fact that the e-levy was still found, the same minority leader on the floor of Parliament, because there when he's speaking on behalf of the minority on the floor of Parliament, said anywhere in the budget that e-levy expresses itself, we will resist it.
So no problem.
I've given you 3 instances.
No problem.
Where all these things have been done.
I still don't get it, but let's please allow Cookie to read messages. I'll come to you. You'll get to speak. Don't worry. Forgive me for that. But Cookie has also been standing by for a while. Hello, Cookie.
Okay. First one says, Honorable Carlo Ahenkorah should thank God he's still in Parliament after chewing ballot papers. Is he the one who set the platform for the telcos? The government should go and set their own platform, period. We cannot pay double taxes on Momo transactions. Why is government not accounting for the COVID monies they borrowed on our behalf? Ask Kamal if all the 30 million people with the Ghana cards are working. Arrogance and pride has taken the better part of the MPP member. Stephen Kwabenya sent in that one. This one says, good morning, Bella. I just want to urge the NDC MPs in Parliament to be resilient in their decisions to reject the e-levy completely. Ghanaians are not ready to hear anything like e-levy, and that came from Osman Bukrisong in Tamale. Bella, you made my day for asking Kamal Dean the very tough questions. Kindly run polls on your network and have an idea how many Ghanaians are strongly rejecting this e-levy. Kamal should go to the north and convince his people to accept the e-levy and come back to the studio and give his account to responses gathered. Derico Sadogrino sent in that one. Good morning, Bella and Cookie. I'm so ashamed and disappointed to hear this from the MP. You guys tell us, no job for the youth, fine, we would accept it like that. But everything in this country is high and higher than our salaries. And you come and tell us if you don't want to pay the e-levy, don't use mobile money. What exactly do you mean? Please stop acting like we live in heaven, for Christ's sake. Yeah, in this country. Okay, this country hotter and hottest. I think that's what you're trying to say. Well, good morning, Bella. Tell the MPP man who will always try to make his point that he should stop defending fraudulent, wicked government policies that seeks to spend only and don't see the results. Tell him that members of the various unions will soon also embark on demonstrations on these wicked policies, because we are already feeling the hardship. Kenneth from Bogatanga sent in that one. Now, Jerry Apeku at Keta says, this e-levy will not see the light of day. We are tired of the Ponzi scheme of the so-called 1.75% on e-transactions. Okay. Now, this one says, oh, so Carlos, after snatching and chewing ballot papers, has now turned to insult our integrity. This is disheartening and unfortunate. Lukman Kalalas in Savlegu sent in that one now. Last one says, please, did I hear the MP Carlos Ahenkorah very well? If he wants us to remind him of his attitude in Parliament about snatching ballot papers away and giving a hot chase without punishment by leadership as of now, Ghanaians would delve into that spontaneously. His submission on e-levy and the use of Momo is reckless, distasteful, and very shameful. We want to go cashless and enjoy comfort. Nobody can decide for us how to use our phones. Kudos to Honorable Bernard Mona and his team. Majority of Ghanaians are now behind them for the good cause. E-levy, dear, humbly drop it for us to move forward. Victor Raptor in Ho sent in that one.
All right, well, Claudine, it's your turn now.
Bella, the job and the main function of the opposition is to oppose.
No.
I'm telling you.
It's to provide an alternative.
Provide it. Or have you provided?
And to keep you in check.
Yes. You see,
yes.
I'm saying
the government in check.
The job of the main function and the main function of opposition is to oppose.
And to keep government in check.
Why do I say so? We have a polarized environment. Very. That sharply, we all believe that it is only the politician who is the messiah. That's the belief we have in this country. All of us. And I'm saying, me inclusive, he inclusive, and you. And everybody watching.
We have a polarized environment. Ghanaians are becoming a lot more enlightened, by the way. So if you say, and me, I don't see the politician. I understand. Please do not interject. I'm just telling you that I don't see the politician as the messiah.
You know why?
Ghanaians do not. Ghanaians are becoming very enlightened. But so you don't say that about them to make it look like.
The impression out there is what I seek to posit here. The impression out there is what I'm seeking to posit here. And I'm saying that we have a polarized environment. That is why I preceded my comment by saying that the job of the opposition is to oppose. So when my brother sit down, his job is to let me look into the matters, pontificate where I can pontificate, and be able to energize my base so that they will see me as opposition and see me strongly opposing, and maybe when I put up myself for election, I'll be elected for. That's the point I want to make.
You've reduced this conversation
now, having made that point, what is all this brouhaha? When you listen to Eddie critically and analyze what he said with respect to the taxes that they introduced on the petroleum products I mentioned earlier on, you would come to the conclusion that the point I made about taxes being imperative, being key. When he felt that, look, we needed some cushioning, we needed to help ourselves. Where we were going, things were difficult. We needed an introduction of a tax to be able to get government running. They did so. Today, the government of the day comes to Parliament with a fiscal policy, with justifications, and giving appendices as to where the monies will be going. Then you now sit here.
The monies are not going.
Hold on.
And tells you this money, when we get it, over 6-point-something billion Ghana cedi, XYZ will be here, XYZ will be there, whatever. All analyzed. Let's discuss it. We all know, and I always make reference to the point that, look, we are not in normal times, and we all know that. Now, the government of the day says that, look, if we are not in normal times, this is how we should go and be able to raise revenue, because we had even overspent what we had projected before COVID, okay, to get our economy back. That one, you say, no, the government doesn't have a justification. But when you were faced with such a problem, that international prices of crude oil went down, and that went down. Prices of what's the name? Revenue that you get from petroleum products also went down, and all that. You needed to inject certain taxes. That one you were justified.
But they had a conversation with majority and said reduce or review the tax percentage. You said no. The lowest you can go is 1.5%.
If they had a conversation, we'll continue. Excuse me.
I said they are going to 1.5%.
No, there was a conversation about that.
No, the question is,
and we were told.
So if the
minority had even said, minority had even said that we should agree to listen.
Oh no, you use it. It's Bella. No, it's not you. It's not you.
Please, you allow him to speak because she spoke for quite a while.
You see, that is why that's the confusion they have created for themselves. I'm happy, Bella, you have raised this. You see, we are open for discussion. We brought a document for us to all look at it. Yes, you have made certain proposals. Other people have made proposals. We all look at it. Ghanaians are supposed to indeed understand whether or not we are all in tandem with each other or not. Now the point is that today you say you're rooting for 0.5. Tomorrow you wanted 1%, and all that. Yet you come sit here and tell us that personal comment was made by minority leader on the 1%. However, in collective, some 0.5 proposal was made. They keep confusing themselves.
I'm trying to find it because I was.
That's what Bella said. You said you are against it.
No, you said it was a personal position.
On this matters. Let us all agree. The point I want to make, which is very important, is that let us all agree that from his talk and from his submission, taxes can never be avoided. From my talk and my submission, taxes can never be avoided.
So you lied to people.
That is why we have all said, look,
so you lied.
Completely.
You say you're moving from taxation to production, and you have introduced 18 different ones.
Even the production, you said we have done nothing today.
Yes, which is true.
How many 1G, 1F factors are in
Come on.
Ask yourself.
Before you go, Ghanaians are saying it's too high. In fact, they don't want it at all. But we've heard some economic, agencies say that at least if you still want to go ahead with it, make it 0.5% because that 1.75 is too high. It will cripple people's businesses.
I've heard those arguments. We are all human beings. We are open to discussions, and that is why the finance minister even made the comment that, look, indeed, we are all open to discussion for the betterment of this country or for the good of this country. Where we all have to move in the direction that will assist us, let us all come together and see how we can move in that direction. But when we take certain positions that we all know very well that if today the tables turn and then you are in power, trust me, you can never do without such measures in place.
Don't tell us how
that's a fact.
Don't tell us
because we've seen you in government before. It's not your first time. And we've seen you, and even sitting here, you told me that
I have been struggling to draw your attention to something.
So I want to say,
I have been struggling. No, but just a quick one. I have been struggling to tell you something. They say this is meant for roads, this is meant for YouStart, this is meant for Agenda 111.
Yes.
If you add the allocations in the budget, it is not up to 2 billion. Meanwhile, they are projecting to get realized from this tax 6.9 billion. I just want to tell there's scam in all these allocations. There's scam. Don't move away from the narrative and go to the real allocations. You are scamming us.
Would we have gone to IMF? We're going, by the way, but would we have gone to IMF if not for this introduction of e-levy? It has not been passed or rejected. I mean, we're still in the middle. I'm not sure. Because Honorable Kojo Nkrumah said that
the finance minister stated clearly that we are not. It's not an option at all. We are not going to IMF.
We're not. But Honorable Kojo Nkrumah said, and I'll just quote what he said: we will need to go to IMF for a $1 million bailout if we agree to pass this e-levy. Does it mean that we were close to actually going?
And I'm saying that the finance minister emphatically, who is supposed to handle the books well, and mentioned to us that going to IMF is not an option and will never be.
The information minister is the one who carries out the information.
But the information minister didn't say we're going to IMF. He didn't say so.
He said that is why we need the e-levy, so that we don't end up going to IMF.
My brother made personal.
You're not responding to that question. Would we have gone to IMF?
Arguments here.
Anyway,
he said
happy birthday to Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dafiamepo. He's the MP for South Dai. Today is your birthday, and we absolutely love you. God bless you so much, and continue to be great. This is from all of us, especially from Johnny Hughes. He had to remind me not to forget to wish you a happy birthday. So God bless you, sir. This morning I've been speaking to Honorable Edward Bauer. He's the MP for Bongo constituency, and Kamal Dean is the Deputy Director of Communications for the NPP. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on The Big Issue. We have more coming up, and of course, this is TV3 New Day. Johnny, Cookie, they have a lot more coming up, sports and entertainment as well, so keep watching. We'll be back.